Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day because we have a great show planned for you, where today on the program we have a guest for our first segment, second segment, computer and technology news, and a lot to go over, but primarily we want to really shine a focus on our guest today, who we will introduce in just a moment. But it's going to all be about cameras, and you really want to check out this camera because while we have certainly seen recording devices here on the program, this is something that even we think is very unique. So this is going to be a lot of fun. But before we get started with our guest today, a couple of things, including computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything from the show notes to links to our guest website, any videos, any product demonstrations, anything that you want to know about today's program can be found at computeramerica.com. And while you're there, also be sure to check out the reviews, articles, and all the other different content that we publish alongside the live radio show that we do here Monday through Friday. We also do reviews and articles. So find those at computeramerica.com or in your favorite newspaper. Also, let's see, last thing, live video feed, which you can also find at twitch.tv/computeramerica. All that and more at our website. Okay. Enough self-publishing. Why don't we go ahead, just bring on our guest and get started. So everyone out there, happy Friday. Hopefully you're all doing well and you're all ready for the weekend. But before you leave the office, you're ready for some Computer America and we can take you out on a high note. And as I said before, this is going to be a very fun interview. So joining us today is none other than a company called OPKIX, OPKIX. If you haven't heard of them, then hey, this is going to be the interview for you because we're going to go over everything from, where they started to where they are now. And joining us is Mr. Lawrence Greaves, and he is the CEO and co-founder of the company. And Lawrence, thank you for joining us here on Computer America. How are you doing?
Ben, I'm fantastic. Thanks so much for having me on the show, and really happy to talk to you and Computer America about the upcoming launch of our company, OPKIX.
All right, and thank you so much for your time, and happy that you could join us here on the show. Obviously, this is, as I said before, something that I think the idea of a camera and, recording things is pretty, not even just well ingrained, but something that's almost expected nowadays with a camera in everyone's pocket. But you've really taken it a step further with the OPKIX One. So before we talk about the OPKIX One and the product that you have, give us some background on the company. When did it start? And tell us a bit about yourself. What's your background in?
Yeah, so again, thanks for the opportunity to chat with you and the guests here today. So OPKIX, the initial idea came in January of 2016. There's 5 of us here that are co-founders. All 5 of us have very different backgrounds, experiences, and skill sets, and frankly are about as different as 5 guys could be. We've also got a founding team of our initial employees that come from some very well-known names and companies. So we've been fortunate from a very early stage to combine our experience with the initial concept being the marketplace desire to capture and record all moments of life and lifestyle. And the only existing wearable cameras that existed out there was very bulky technology, used predominantly in the action sports field, which is well and good when you're snowboarding once a year. But we looked at the opportunity throughout the rest of the year. What about your child's first steps, riding bicycles, splashing around in a pool, vacations and trips and beyond? We looked at this as a blue sky opportunity to bring together some of the best pieces of both hardware, software, and social share. And what we've designed is OPKIX One. This is a very innovative piece of technology, and the ecosystem is comprised on the hardware side of our charging carry case. We call it our egg, which as you look into our product, you'll see it's very egg-shaped, ergonomically designed to fit seamlessly into your pocket. And inside of that egg are two very small, very aesthetically beautiful wearable cameras that capture in high definition quality with full surround sound audio and completely waterproof out of the box. The concept behind this, of course, is to be able to capture the moments you live in, but also live in the moments you capture. We all find that nowadays, most of us tend to be capturing subjects staring at the screen of our smartphones. So we wanted to be able to innovate something that's not just beautiful, but functional as well. And, put our phones back in our pockets and start living in those moments. So that's the high-level overview on who we are and where we've come from.
Very, very well said. And I wanted to, and I think I have a couple questions, and then we're going to get into the OPKIX One, and then we'll talk about the software side, the hardware side. But the first thing I really have to bring to people's attention is that we have a regular here on the show. He has been on a little while, but he does a lot of kind of Hollywood stuff, and he's a director, so he gets to work with a lot of cameras and things that are the best in the industry, things that the consumer probably never even know about, but that's okay. But even he will admit that the best camera, and this is one of his sayings, the best camera that there is the one that you have with you, because it doesn't matter if you have the best Nikon, Canon, Red, whatever in the industry at home sitting on your desk. If it's not in your pocket, if it's not handy when you need it, it doesn't matter. So that's my question for you with OPKIX, is that obviously, and you can talk about specs and things like that in just a moment, but talk about the idea of having something like OPKIX, I guess, kind of handy, having it portable. You mentioned the carrying case. What was your kind of philosophy when it came to not just action cameras, but a camera that you could wear places? Like, why was it so important to wear a camera in today's day and age?
Yeah. So Ben, first of all, that's pretty insightful with regards to the comments you've made about the camera that's with you as the one that gets used. Mm-hmm. I think moreover as well, it's pretty insightful just to kind of it backs into the ethos of the company, where we've come from and what we're aiming to achieve. For the audience who haven't seen our product yet, I urge you to follow on social. Go to our website and have a look, just so you can really understand what I'm describing here. But the ecosystem of the egg and the two cameras that I've described to you encompasses 1,300 of some of the most advanced components that exist in the marketplace. And each of our cameras weighs 11.8 grams. Envision two sugar cubes placed side by side and high definition quality coming out of something like that. This is designed to fit into the lifestyle category, which is so important to all of us. We wanted to have something that was wearable. I think that, again, if you look at large inspirational companies like Samsung's and Apple's, they've done such a great job equipping all of us with these smartphones that can do so much. Mm-hmm. I speak frequently about how I feel that smartphones are the closest thing to the merging of human DNA and robotics, because they're attached to our hands 24/7. From a utility standpoint, they can do so much for us, but from a more deep and ethereal standpoint, they're really placing blocks between us and our subjects, our friends and our family, I couldn't help but, as a fan of golf, watching Tiger Woods here, coming to a roaring comeback, and everyone surrounding on the last 18th green. No one's looking at him. They're staring at their smartphones. We want the ability to put those things away. Don't lose those moments. Be present. Capture them. But look at them later. Don't stop living in these moments that you're so desperate to capture. And that, it extends to friends and family, to concert goers, to being in theme parks and beyond. And I think, frankly, that the evolution that everyone's seeing now in technology, and especially with the advent of smart watches, the ability to make and receive phone calls, reviewing applications, getting text messages, incredible, wireless earphones, playing all your favorite songs. The only thing missing from your smartphone in that original ecosystem that we're all so dependent on is a wearable camera. So we're very cognizant about the generation that we live in. Mm-hmm. And again, you've referenced some pretty large companies in the camera space. When you say camera company, it's misleading. OPKIX is a technology platform more than just a camera innovator. And I think that that's important to note, because frankly, the existing opportunities from current providers of camera technology were built for generations ago. Capturing 4K cinematic quality for 3 hours for the average consumer is irrelevant. Mm-hmm. The 1 billion videos a day that are currently being created are 60 seconds or less. They're designed to be shared on social. They're not heavily edited. And it leans right back into our philosophy, and that's about taking 2019 and being present. That's what we're all about.
You have a huge road against you, because if anyone out there has seen, let's see, the Super Bowl was probably the latest big event. If you look at, let's say, the halftime show when the lights dim and the crowd is just awash in these LED phone screens that everyone has out of their pocket, and everyone is watching the performance of, in a lot of people's cases, this is probably one of the biggest performances they'll see in their entire lives, and they're watching it through the viewfinder, or I should say the screen of their smartphones. It's become so pervasive that like I said, I think that you have a lot of work to do, because I think that wearing a camera, not having to, to direct the camera is as simple as looking in the right direction. Like you said, you live in the moment. You take yourself away from the screen, and you know that you're capturing it, and you just kind of, get at it. So I definitely like the idea. So let's get into the hardware. Let's get into what you've actually created here. And you've already gave a quick product description. Anyone out there who's watching the video portion, which you, again, can find at computeramerica.com or our YouTube page, we are showing the video on your website. And you mentioned about 2 sugar cubes, 11 grams. This thing is very small, very compact. If you also want to mention real quick, kind of how it mounts, I see glasses here used occasionally. Describe for us, and I guess now's a good time as any, describe for us some of the hardware specs as well when it comes to the camera quality.
Great. And if you don't mind, Ben, I also just want to quickly respond to the pretty insightful comments that you put out there with regards to Super Bowl. You mentioned that I'm up against a pretty, meteoric challenge. I'll tell you, my friend, I'm the man for the job, and I've got a team of people here to support me in that. It's an interesting moment here in technology. It's not just me. It's not just OPKIX that wants people to be present again. It's my 7 and 5-year-old children asking me to put my phone down. This is a much broader reaching topic with far greater implications than ones we've just discussed here relative to the success of OPKIX. So I look forward to partnering with other heads of major technology firms that I have been doing so far to allow this journey to continue. We don't want to lose those moments. I love video-based content. I think truly that both in consumer and in a business application, in many cases, video will replace the traditional keyboard. So I don't see this going anywhere. We're just looking at a different purview of how to go about capturing this content. So with that being said, I would like to answer your other questions, and thank you for giving me the foray into talking about hardware and, more importantly, the mounts. From our standpoint, we didn't just want to design a mount. We wanted to have a focus on being fashion forward. from straight out of the box for $295, you don't just get our wireless charging egg, but you also get one of our high-definition cameras. But included in that is our charging cables and all the quick start guides, but also 4 of our first innovations in mounting. This is something that weighs about 2.5 grams. We call it our universal flat plate mount. How we're able to put all of our mounts together is actually through the combination of magnets put inside of our camera housing and then reciprocally into the mounts that we've designed. Incredibly high-powered, reverse polarity. It doesn't just connect the two things, but it also gives the correct orientation for the camera. We don't want the user to have to worry about if they're pointing this in the correct direction. Mm-hmm. So 4 of those flat plate mounts come with every package. 2 of them are removable mounts, so they've got this very unique adhesive on the bottom that you could place it on the dashboard of your car, handlebars of your bicycle, a helmet of your kid's crash helmet when they're on the rollerblades or whatever it might be. But also we include 2 permanent fixtures as well, which have a really strong 3M adhesive. When you've made your commitments of where you want to keep 2 of those flat plates, they stick there, and again, the camera can magnetize to that. But it's not dedicated to just that environment. The camera should be able to be removed and placed in multiple different environments. As you can see, we've also released absolutely stunningly beautiful Italian-made eyewear for both male and female, indoor and outdoor eyewear. We've created what we call the OPKIX selfie stick. This is probably the only selfie stick that I can get behind as someone who's a follower of fashion myself. I personally carry one, which I never thought I'd be able to say that proudly. We currently offer them in both a gold and a black color. It's an anodized aluminium with a telescoping arm. It's got a very soft stylus tip for on-the-go editing. And again, at $40, you won't see something cooler to pair with your OPKIX camera. We also developed with some of the pro athletes that we have on our team a really cool ring mount. Very simple silicone-based rings in multiple different sizes. And fellas, for anyone who's listening, it's not too late. Valentine's isn't too far past us to think about the ultimate proposal with a camera to capture the moment as well. But what we've worked out is these hand-worn cameras, from a ring perspective, gives the perfect length for that selfie. And a lot of people nowadays don't just want to capture the POV perspective of our camera-worn glasses, but also be able to capture themselves in the frame. That's the value of OPKIX One with 2 cameras in our premium package. In addition to the ring mounts, the selfie stick, and the flat plate mount that we've discussed, we also have a fashion-focused necklace mount. Frequently we get asked the question, if you're wearing it in a necklace, it's pointing at your feet, why would I want to capture a video of myself walking, looking at my feet? It's really not that. It's for concert goers. It's for people living in that moment that just want to have something where it's a body-worn camera. So in those moments that you want to pick it up and capture Beyonce or Jay-Z on stage, you can record those few moments, push the power button off, drop it back down, and again, live in the moment. And then our final accessories, we come up currently with 4 different color and style ways of OPKIX hats. And in the bill of the hats, we've seamlessly included our magnetic mount, so the camera can actually mount to the bill of the hats. We've got a full range of additional mounts, including technology-enabled mounts that can do different things for our products going forward. But as described, those are the key components to mount our cameras onto. And just briefly, Ben, to
Sure.
give you the closing statements on the quality of the camera. We've got a very similar image sensor than the one you would find in your smartphone. So the same quality of video that you can expect from the market's leading and most expensive smartphones is very similar to what you can get through the tech spec of the OPKIX One. We capture 1080 by 1080 at 30 frames a second. The bodies of the camera is an aerospace aluminum housing with a beautiful sapphire glass lens cover. We've got baked-in embedded flash memory in both of the cameras and the egg that can capture and store as much as 72 minutes of footage on the go. Both the cameras are IP67 rated out of the box. We've got a world-class video editing app that pairs with the cameras because we're of the firm belief that anyone who captures content must have immediate access to that footage. And our video editing app is a tool to not just transfer that content wirelessly, and rapidly, but also to be able to edit your favorite videos, use augmented reality filters, layering music over the top of it. We have a section called Funny Clips where you can pull in 4-second funnies from the internet to add into your video frame by frame. And again, to be clear, each one of these cameras is still under 11.8 grams. So hopefully that gives you a bit more of a description of our ecosystem and the cameras and the hardware themselves.
No, you really encapsulated that very, very well. And just, I can kind of poking through websites, all the accessories. Again, just to highlight, your accessories really focus on getting the camera, I guess, out of the way. I mean, the ring mount, that's something I've never seen before. I think that's a great idea. And then, like, things like the necklace mount, and then, I've seen the stick in action through your product video. Being able to see them, kind of used, I guess, sparingly, I guess is the point of this camera, is that it's meant to be used, and then it's meant to be stored quickly and then kind of forgotten until you want to capture something again. You've really made an effort to make sure that this camera can remain handy, but out of the way. That's something that you've really highlighted here. But I do want to ask you, and maybe this is a way to kind of branch this into the software side, but let's talk about actually using the device. So let's pretend a user buys one of these things and they get it out of the box. Let's pretend it's all charged up and all ready to go. Pair it with your smartphone. How do you actually start recording video? Is this you pull out your phone and you have to hit the start button? Is there a button on the camera? How do you capture moments?
Yeah, I mean, there's a physical button on the camera. If you look, there's a very small rubber gasket on the top with it's a black button with a red dot. Simple press once, turns it on. Simple press again, turns it off. It is as simple as that. I'll tell you that. Your comments earlier, Ben, with regards to the best camera that you've got is the one that you use, is so true to our core. If we're not focused on that, we're focused on innovation and technology. We're focusing on protecting a consumer's privacy. I don't know if you can see on the camera, but there's a white square on the front of that.
Yeah.
That, our halo, is something that we've put tremendous amount of research, design, and technology applications into. As soon as you start recording, that halo illuminates a very bright light. That is done for security purposes, to let people know that they're being recorded. We have no desire to ever be in the business of building spy hardware from a consumer-focused perspective. The OPKIX one is designed to let people know when they're being recorded. We joked initially, but we called it the anti-creep feature, because we don't want this being put in places where it becomes innocuous. We want it to be discreet and fashion-forward. That's the concept behind the design. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more insight into the thought process of the team here.
Oh, so, and I don't know what this says about me, that I'm supposed to be suspicious of technology. That's kind of my job, but I'm glad that you have thought about that before I did. When it comes to hey, a camera this size can be covertly put into a lot of places, but obviously we recommend keeping it on you and just recording what you want to record. So that makes
for sure. And remember this as well, Ben. We're all family friendly folks. I'm a husband. I'm a father of 2 children. I build products. I build tools that don't just improve experiences, but make this a better place for us all. We are very conscious of what we do. We're conscious of the threats, not just from a content, from a positioning, but also from a data perspective. We're building products that we want to use. We're building stuff that does not exist. You asked how we fit into a broad landscape of otherwise a cluttered category of camera companies. Well, the truth is we're not. We're a technology business, and again, we're building stuff that we want to use that didn't exist.
Makes perfect sense. Now, I do have to ask you, in some of your product demos here, you show a gentleman flipping off a boat. You show, someone taking this and recording themselves going down a trail on a bike. Obviously, these are very extreme environments as opposed to a concert or something like that. You mentioned IP67, which 67, I think 6 gets you, and you can correct me on the numbers. I think that's water resistant, 3 feet. I think it can get wet, but but you don't want to like keep it underwater for more than an hour. And then 7 means that it can survive a fall and a shock, and it's dust resistant. It's gonna be pretty good. In your own personal experience and in your words, how rugged would you say these things are?
I appreciate the opportunity. When you say in my own personal experience, and you've referenced a few things, that's not just a guy jumping off a boat. That's my head of social media jumping off my boat in my neighborhood. That's not just a guy going downhill. That's my director of marketing, former baseball player for the Red Sox called Cody, riding his mountain bike down the hills here in Laguna Beach. We built this for us, for our friends, for our families. There is nothing more personal than building a product that stands up to the test of all of us. Listen, we've not designed and built this to be an action sports camera. Mm-hmm. There's a full ecosystem of people out there that have complete different ethos and philosophy on how to design products. As I mentioned to you, the idea of capturing a 3-hour video in 4K is not what our users are looking for.
Right.
Our users are looking for high quality in the moment and looking fashion forward while you're wearing it. So what I would tell you is to just add on to your definition of IP67. It's at a depth of 10 feet for 30 minutes continuously while operating. This product is stress test. We drop it. We try and do as much damage to it as possible. One of the slightly more comical versions of this is a drop test that we did here in our own studios here in Orange County, California, where we took a disarmed World War II bomb and dropped it on the shell of the camera, and it did surprisingly well. But you know, the traditional use case for this is I would look at you treating this the same way that you treat your smartphone. I wouldn't use it as a weapon to throw at people, but I would certainly say that it can stand the test of the use cases of what most of us are doing day in and day out.
I gotcha. No, and thank you for clarifying that. Although I do want to ask you another question, because the egg, kind of the egg carrying case that you've mentioned before is a charging case and a storage case. Very, very cool. I like it. Don't get me wrong, but I have to ask you, why 2 cameras? Can you use 2 cameras simultaneously, or is it meant to be when one kind of drains its power and you've used one, then you store that, let that charge, pull the other one out? Are they meant to be used in tandem or sequentially?
Okay, so let me give you a tech answer first, and then I'll give you more of a use case answer for the same question.
Sure.
Anytime that you say things like 2 sugar cubes placed side by side, the 2 biggest considerations that OPKIX has from a technology and engineering standpoint is basic physics. The largest complicating factors are heat and thermal creation within electronic devices and battery life. We designed 2 initially because we wanted to provide the ability that if one camera went dead, you immediately have another one. Once you replace it back in the charging pod, the dead one is recharging, the other one is live and ready to roll. More importantly, from a use case standpoint, we have 2 eyes. For most of us that are blessed with the ability of sight, why not have 2 cameras? Why not have 2 points of view for every subject? My easiest recollection is going back to our initial alpha units on the production timeline, and riding down the boardwalks here in Orange County, California, with one set being worn on my sunglasses. The other set was actually placed on the handlebars of my beach cruiser facing back at me. And editing those 2 clips side by side, all of a sudden I realized I had a far more comprehensive viewpoint of the subject, which is just something simple, and it's being out and enjoying a Saturday morning. When you take that logic and you apply it to all different use cases, whether it's a couple dancing together with both of their perspectives being caught, whether it's someone who wants to use it on a helmet with one camera facing forward and one camera facing backwards, this is giving people on a creative basis twice the outlet for the same subject. And frankly, from our standpoint, we had not seen it done before. We see people go with 360 cameras and 180 cameras that end up being priced so expensive that it's out of the average consumer's reach. We wanted to give something that's well within reach, with prices starting at $295 and for the 2 camera bundle starting at $395. Again, it's almost magic to see what we've been creating, and more excitingly, we can't wait to see what our customers start creating.
Very well said. And before we wrap this interview, we have about another minute, and I wanted, and of course, if people want to find out more, OPKIX, OPKIX.com. We're going to include a link to that in the show notes. And Lawrence, before we say goodbye, I wanted you've already given a ton of personal experiences with this camera, but do you have like a favorite personal experience using this camera? Nope.
I do.
Oh,
and I'll keep it as brief as I possibly can.
Sure, go for it.
My personal use case that I enjoyed the most was my friend's 40th birthday this past weekend in Las Vegas. 29 of us went out and had truly one of the best times ever. We were able to create a 1-minute video edit for each night that we were out there. It even reminded us of things that we had forgotten. And to be clear, we did not pull our phones out of our pockets until the travel home on Sunday to go back into our video editing tool. Mm-hmm. We were present in those moments. We've remembered things that we couldn't have otherwise remembered. It was discreet, it was cool, and it was just the most fun thing for us to have seen this thing in action so far.
Love to hear it. So everyone, once again, if you want to check it out, computeramerica.com, show notes. Lawrence, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and you really have something great here.
Thank you, guys. Much appreciated, Ben. Right. Great chatting with you.
Have a good one.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 32 minutes past the hour as we continue on here. And everyone, thank you for joining us here on Computer America. If you're just joining us, you just missed a great interview with a company called OPKIX. And we, of course, had the CEO and co-founder on with us, Mr. Lawrence Greaves. And it was a lot of fun to hear from his perspective about a camera that, well, speaking of perspective, captures yours and does it very, very well and very discreetly. So, well, I say discreetly, but like you mentioned, there was that halo thing. I guess unobtrusively would be the optimal word. So if you miss any part of that interview, feel free to go wherever podcasts are heard, punch in Computer America, and hey, you will find our show in its entirety rebroadcast wherever you may go. So obviously, we prefer if you listen to us here live on the IRN Radio Network, but if you can't, then the podcast is a great second place, and we highly recommend you do that. Now, all that and more at computeramerica.com or wherever podcasts are heard. And again, thank you to OPKIX for coming on the show. It was a lot of fun, and definitely encourage them to reach out and join us. Hey, maybe for a Gen 2. But I got to say, the Gen 1, they have really engineered the heck out of this thing. the hard work shows. Let's put it that way. So there you go. And everyone, OPKIX, OPKIX.com if you want to check it out. Okay, everyone, there you have it. And now, in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and continue with computer and technology news. We have a couple of stories. Really looking forward to this. Here we go. Computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. All right, everyone. Now, why don't we go ahead and start with our first article? And so, a lot of different stories. This one's
Internet retail giant.
Hey, and check it out. Autoplay videos. They are the best. So this is a this is an article that had been circulating for some time yesterday, and it had to do with Amazon. Now, Amazon, there's a lot to be said for hating on the biggest person in the room. You know, it's if you are the biggest, then you are obviously the target. You have a lot to justify. Everything that you do, everything that happens, you have to justify yourself. Now, I say this because there's an article published by Fortune, and admittedly, I bring attention to it not because it's true, but because it's partially clickbait. This is just something that obviously it's true at face value, but in spirit, it's not at all. And this has to do with Amazon will pay a whopping $0 in federal taxes on $11.2 billion in profit. You may have heard that line before, this one coming out yesterday. And really, being Valentine's Day yesterday, you have that love-hate affair with Amazon. Everyone uses them, but they feel like sometimes they're just, they're just getting too good of a deal. Well, let's dispel some myths. So I pulled this article up because this is really the one that went, kind of pseudo-viral. You can check that out. We'll include this link in the show notes. But I wanted to bring attention to everyone the fact that, well, yes, they will be paying $0 in federal income tax for business. Well, they will still be paying a lot of other taxes. And the reason that this tax-free break comes even though Amazon almost doubled its U.S. profits from 5.6 to so from 5.6 to 11.2 billion between 2017 and 2018. That's right. In just 1 year, they doubled their profits. So why do they still get off at scot-free? They said that obviously Amazon actually reported a $129 million federal income tax rebate, making its tax rate negative 1%. All of this seems to be a recipe for, hey, why isn't Amazon paying its fair share? Now, the truth of what is happening is the fact that Amazon is really utilizing the laws as best that they can to their advantage. And you can't really blame them for the way that the laws work. If you don't like it, you can change the laws. But until then, what Amazon has done is that they have, in the past 10 years or so, actually invested a lot of money. You may recall year after year after year that every one of these companies, everyone from Apple to Amazon to Spotify to a lot of these different companies, they operated in the red. They burned through venture capital money left and right. They were, spending billions of dollars a year, not making a profit. And that's when every armchair economist said, how long is this sustainable? Will they ever turn a profit? Blah, blah, blah. Now, fast forward to today, when they're actually making a profit, turns out the IRS will actually let you do this little trick. And this is not just available to Amazon, it's available to anyone. But they'll let you do this little trick where you can actually write off your past year's deficits. When you weren't making money in any future investments, and you can write them off against your future profits. That's what Amazon is doing. Amazon is not paying $0 in federal taxes. They are still paying payroll tax. They are still paying everything from, let's see. So, and there's a list here. I was just about to find it. Amazon still pays sales tax, property tax, employment tax, Social Security. There we go. Amazon still pays tons and tons and tons in taxes. But the one that Fortune is quoting here, where they pay zero, it's true. It's because they have deferred the profits, or they have deferred their payments from past years when they were not making any money. It's to help encourage businesses to, hey, even if it takes some money in the beginning to start up, if you start to do well in the future, then hey, you can, write off against your bad years. It's an incentive to help businesses keep doing what businesses do. Again, the point of this article was not to bash on Amazon, or was not really to defend Amazon. It's more this idea that accurate reporting is important. And yeah, I think we're gonna, kind of move away from this, but there you go. It's a bit annoying to see these articles in Amazon. There's a lot to hate. They have positioned themselves to be the 800-pound gorilla in the room. They have leveraged every possible advantage that a business can eke out for itself. And at the same time, you can't really be mad at them for doing that exactly what the law says that they could and should do. So there you go. That's why Amazon can operate with $11.2 billion in profit and still pay $0 in income tax. It's because, well, they didn't make money for so long, they can actually write that off. There you go. Amazon actually paying taxes. It's just, kind of misleading for them to do that. There you go. So everyone, we're continuing on computer and technology news. Plenty of time for more articles. Why don't we go ahead and, want to go ahead and talk about, a lot of different articles here. Okay. Facebook. Speaking of number ones and being in a position to not really be favorable of, but let's be honest here. Facebook is a multi-billion-dollar company. There's no way around it. Now, here we have this article from Gizmodo, a publication that we don't frequent too often, but of course they are a great publication themselves. Gizmodo. Facebook is negotiating a record multi-billion-dollar fine for its privacy problems. Ladies and gentlemen, if you ever thought that your data was just not that valuable, or it's like, oh, whatever, it's just my phone number, it's just my email, it's just XYZ, realize this is going to have billions of dollars in ramifications for a company that's already made billions of dollars selling that exact data. Now, Facebook is in active negotiations to resolve the Federal Trade Commission's investigation into the company's privacy failures. And that is according to a new Washington Post report, talks that could result in a multi-billion-dollar fine or a heavyweight court battle, which you can be sure companies such as Facebook, as we've seen with Apple and Samsung and all these other huge companies, regardless of whatever settlement that they actually, or even Google for that matter, whatever penalty they're actually issued, it will be challenged in court. It will be knocked around for a couple of years until finally they'll settle for probably 10% of what they were initially fined. But I digress. Still, multiple billions of dollars will be levied against, or a multi-billion-dollar fine will be levied against Facebook. Now, the report didn't include an exact figure and said that landing on an amount is the focus of the talks. So, wouldn't you like to be able to talk with the police and say, hey, I really feel like I should only have to serve X amount of years. And don't get me wrong, that's why you have your day in court. But sometimes you feel like Facebook kind of has a bit more leeway than an average run-of-the-mill defendant. So, yeah. The negotiations have had a tumultuous beginning, but could lead to an agreement between the company and the government over a fine, business changes, and regular checkups. That's an important part. I think regulation, that is one word that I'm sure a lot of people don't enjoy. but it's something that technology has, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on where you land on it, technology and social media in general has had no accountability. It's we connect people, that's it, period. And whatever falls out from that is that. Now, looks like we're going to have at least a little bit of accountability on Facebook's part. The FTC investigation stems from the uproar about Cambridge Analytica. If you don't recall that had to do with President Trump, that had to do with Russia and the influencing campaign that happened during the 2016 presidential election and the months leading up to that, where Cambridge Analytica was using Facebook data to influence American voters to vote or sway or spread misinformation. It was a big deal, continues to be a big deal, and now looks like we're finally getting some concrete fines in regards to this. What Zuckerberg does not have in mind, however, is paying a potentially record-breaking fine from the FTC. No exact number has been landed on yet, and the Washington Post reports that the company is fighting back against the agency's initial demand. I gotta say though, for all of the punishments or wrist slaps that we have seen against companies, the European Union, the EU, has had some of the most, or I guess largest, had some of the most penalizing penalties against companies that we've ever seen, because the EU does something that the US does not do. And while they're negotiating what's happening in the EU, a company is fined based on their gross income. They're fined based on the revenue that they do and how much money that they are able to pull together. So where Facebook maybe is going to be charged, in this case, I think in the article it was quoted potentially up to $40,000 per violation. And $40,000 per violation times $83 million. Let's see if we can pull up a calculator real quick. Google, come to the rescue here. Calculator, everyone, pull out your calculators. Let's see, so 40,000 times 83 million. Oh, and hit that button there. Times, I know, thrilling radio. 123 million equals, we are looking at, yeah, looks to be about $1 trillion, or like $3 trillion. Probably not very possible to pay, even for a company that has a net value of about 400 billion, I think is their market capitalization right now. So they're negotiating. They can't pay the full fine. Obviously, it would put the company bankrupt multiple times over. But something needs to be done. Something very punitive has to happen. And regulations need to be put into place to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And if it does happen again, we have recourse as people. Much like Equifax, much like a lot of other organizations that lost consumer data, and the most that we heard about that was, oops, we're sorry. This cannot be allowed to continue to happen, because the data breaches of today, which lose your email, your phone number, maybe your location data, maybe your usage data, well, turn that around, and you're looking at, in the future, you're looking at biometric data, you're looking at security data and medical data. Just, if you don't get it right today, it's going to be harder and harder to get it right tomorrow. So there you go. That's that article from, again, Gizmodo, and talking about Facebook could be staring down the barrel of multi-billions of dollars worth of fines because of the Cambridge Analytica. If you thought that the response had not been enough, turns out it just takes a couple of years for these things to work themselves out. There you go. So let's go ahead and do that. And why don't we go ahead and find our next article? And I think for that, okay, this is a feel-good story. And feel-good only if you enjoy classic video games. Super Mario Brothers. You may know that one. That was the game that started it all for Nintendo. And just like those baseball cards that you may have had when you were younger, and I think that the reason that those baseball cards are so valuable, and I think that, I know, the reason that comic books are so valuable, the reason that baseball cards are so valuable, that certain magazines are so valuable, it's because they were printed or made in a format that were then given to a generation that really captured their attention. I mean, video games and Super Mario Brothers was something that was very widely distributed, but then they were given to kids. They were given to sticky-fingered, gross little kids. Just like comic books and just like baseball cards, none of them were really kept in good condition. So that's why it brings us to this article from Engadget. And if you didn't hear, this is by Saqib Shah, talking about a pristine Super Mario Brothers cartridge sold for over $100,000. Yeah. That's a lot of zeros for a game that probably cost about $30 when it first sold. Despite classic video games now being readily available online and throwback mini consoles, which we've had here on the show, yes, you can emulate Super Mario Brothers. If you want to play what's on this cartridge, it's completely possible. You don't have to have the cartridge to play what's on the cartridge. No, this is simply for collector's value only. Rare physical copies are still fetching big bucks, of course, and you can see it there, this sold at auction, saying that the latest record-breaking collector's item is a sealed copy of Super Mario Brothers, which sold for just $100,000, $100,150. So you got to add the 150 on there on top of that. And that is according to Kotaku, which experts claim is the highest price ever paid for a single video game. Now, the question is, what makes it so valuable? A foil sticker on top of the black box that indicates it's among the very first run of 17 NES games produced in America. These were released in test markets across New York and Los Angeles between October and March 1985 and 1986 respectively, back when NES came bundled with Duck Hunt and Gyro Mite. It's been a while. It's been a while since that's happened. Other titles in the esteemed lineup include Hogan's Alley, Wild Gunman, and Baseball, all classics. Due to its popularity, though, Super Mario Bros. Would be reprinted in 11 different box variations from 85 to 94, according to gaming collectible authenticator Wata Games. And as production began ramping up in 1986, Nintendo ditched the sticker seals and began to shrink wrap its games. So you can see here, not only was this intact, not only was it mint condition, but it had the sticker seal, which is just so uncommon, so uncommon. Now, they said that the copy of Super Mario Brothers is now jointly owned by 3 different buyers, including Jim Halperin, the founder and co-chairman of the collectibles auction company Heritage Auctions, game collector Rich Lecce, and video game store owner Zach Geig. It marks a big leap from the previous record holder, which was another sealed copy of Super Mario Brothers back in 2017 for $30,000. So in just 2 years, we've gone from $30,000 to $100,000. Now, there you go, saying that not only are all NES sticker sealed games extremely rare, but their nature of not being sealed in shrink wrap, they usually exhibit significant wear after more than 30 years. This game may be the condition census for all sticker sealed NES games known to exist. Just the fact that this is the best looking one makes it a $100,000 prize. So everyone, if you have a copy of the 1985-1986 Super Mario Brothers and you say, hey, I have one of those from way back when, I never got around to opening it, this could be your lucky day. You could be sitting on tens of thousands of dollars. So very interesting, $100,000. I don't think I'd pay for that, but because again, if you want what is on that cartridge, you can go out and play it for free right now. I know it's completely possible, and that is that's something to technology that is very uncommon for other formats. Is that again, you don't need the cartridge, but it's fun to have. It's fun to have. Everyone, there you go. Okay, time for just maybe two more. Let us go ahead and... How about this one? Let's talk about Alphabet. Alphabet, if you are unfamiliar, for some reason, Alphabet is the parent company of Google. Google, when Google was still Google, they split off into Alphabet, and Alphabet was kind of the center umbrella company that would then foster innovation between all the other subsidiaries of Google. So instead of Google being in the in the line of fire, Alphabet would be kind of the main company, and then Google would just be an arm. It's a way of kind of divesting and diversifying so that Google, the search engine, wouldn't be harmed by maybe Waymo, which is the self-driving car initiative by Google. I should say by Alphabet. The two wouldn't interplay that well, or I should say that often. Now, Alphabet. Sidewalk Labs outlines how it'll make money from Toronto. So I think this is just a nice relaxed way that we're going to take it out here. This should be our last article that we do here on Computer America for Friday. But everyone, let's go ahead and get into this. For the last 2 years, Google's Sidewalk Labs has been working on planned neighborhood on Toronto's waterfront. And now, thanks to internal documents obtained by the Toronto Star, the company's plans on how it will make money through the development has been revealed. Sidewalk Labs plans to take a portion of property taxes, development fees, and siphon off tax revenue generated by increased property values in the region. If you don't know anything about Toronto, much like a lot of other big metropolitan cities, prices of real estate are going up like crazy. And Alphabet is not really in the business of being a land developer, but they're willing to try it out. Just like Google Fiber, just like a lot of other ventures that you'd say, why is the search engine company getting involved in self-driving cars, being an internet provider? Why are they, interested in cameras that can detect people's faces? Well, Google just wants to try everything, and this is it. So one day, you too can live in a Google neighborhood. In a November presentation given by the company, Alphabet, and seen by the Star, Sidewalk Labs revealed that it doesn't intend to construct buildings on the majority of the land, but does plan to attempt to benefit from other developers building on the property. In one slide, the company claims that to be entitled to a share in the uptick in land value on the entire geography, a share of developer charges and incremental tax revenue on all land. I guess that works. I mean, it seems a bit audacious at face value. Just because Google owns it means therefore it will be worth more, and that increase in value, the fact that it's there from Google, means that Google is entitled to the uptick that they create. Interesting. Now, the area is subject to development, located in Portland, is expected to generate an estimated $6 billion over 30 years. The money would typically go to the city's coffers, but Sidewalk Labs intends to lay claim to at least some share of it. The company has walked back some of the claims in the leaked presentation. It's one of those things that Google is going to start stepping on local government, and it's going to be a court battle whether or not Google can actually start imposing taxes on those who build on their land. I get charging rent and fees and things like that, but can they actually siphon off tax revenue? That's going to be a whole nother question. In a post on Medium, Sidewalk Labs CEO Dan Doctoroff reaffirmed the company's planned investment in affordable housing in the area and its intention to help spur economic growth, though did not directly address how plans to recoup the money it spends on the development. Doctoroff also told The Star his company only expects to be paid back a reasonable return for our investment. Now, of course, the question is, what is a reasonable return? What can Google expect? And, of course, will Google stick to its mantra, do the right thing? So many so many cities around the country are dealing with a housing crisis that they just cannot get a handle on. Everyone from California to Toronto to, everyone from Texas to Canada and everywhere in between. Affordable housing, especially in tech-centric economies, is something that they really need to focus on. So we are excited to see what Alphabet Sidewalk can do. But hey, you work for Google, you use Google, and soon you will be paying rent to Google. See what happens. Everyone, the music means that we're just about done. The episode really did fly by. Thank you everyone who was able to join us, and thank you to everyone who was able to, of course, get the stream working halfway through. Everyone, if you missed any part of our show today, you can of course check it out. We talked to OPKIX, OPKIX. If you missed that interview, wherever podcasts are heard, search Computer America and you can listen to that interview in its entirety. Lawrence Greaves, if you're listening, thank you for being on the show. He was CEO and co-founder. And thank you for joining us through computer and technology news. Until next week, everyone, we have a lot of great interviews. We have a lot of exciting stuff. Stay tuned to Computer America. Looking forward to seeing you all here next time. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye, everyone.